Priyanka, it's great to see you again. You are absolutely stunning. Adarsh, you are too. So there. um, let's get right into it, and I'll start with Priyanka. This movie has got so many layers to it, but what was surprising to me was the fact that it's got a lot of humor running through it. It's it's very sarcastic in its narration.
The credit of that definitely has to go to the author of the book, which is Arvind Adiga. He wrote this book at sort of the turn of the millennium. This was 2005 to 2008, and it was a really interesting time in India. It was at the precipice of being this massive economic superpower, and I think the tonality of the book. Balram's character and everyone else is funny, sarcastic, sardonic, dark, noir, but at the same time talking about really culturally not just appropriate but important, pivotal, discussions that need to happen that we kind of most people kind of get uncomfortable with. But that's the greatest thing about authors is we've seen in history so many amazing literary authors that have taken material from the environment and spun it into real conversations that are super universal. And this book and the class disparity and the conversations in it is a very universal subject.
Darsh, when you approach this, I mean, this character changes completely during the film.
Well, of course, Balram was part of the have-nots, and he was born into a family that did not have much, and started right at the grassroots level, and he pulled himself out of whatever he was born into and created his own destiny. And um, that whole journey that Balram undertakes, I think it represents just the simmering rage that a lot of people experience in their lives, because their destiny gets pre-decided. It gets decided right from the time they're born into the family that they're born into. So I think Balram was one of the brave ones who fought his way through it and found himself at a place where he had people working for him. And of course, I mean, you empathize with him and his character, but you don't really advocate his actions. You don't support what he did, but you still root for him at the
Yeah.
end, because it's an underdog story. And yeah, you find yourself rooting for the character by the end. So
Yeah, yeah, and it's beautifully written that way. Priyanka, tell me a little bit about your job as executive producer.
I guess when I first read about this in the trade magazines, actually one morning I jumped out of my chair because I was like, oh my gosh, I read this book 10 years ago. And truly, my quest is to be able to bring South Asian stories and South Asian representation to the fore in Hollywood. Because when you look at global entertainment, you don't really see the literal population, which is about one fifth of the world's population, represented in global entertainment. So when I remember this book being super entertaining, poignant, and important to me at that time. So I reached out to the producers and I, offered my services and I said I would love to EP and support the movie and take it and push it to a place where it can get as many eyeballs as possible. I really align with Ramin in terms creatively align with him very much. So I'm a big fan of his work, and then the ability to actually work with this cast. Rajkumar Rao, who's not with us here, is an extremely prolific actor in India. I was a huge fan with, never worked with, and then to see who would be White Tiger, because I was cast before I think Raj and Adarsh were, and there was this whole thing about who's going to be our White Tiger because that's the movie, and I remember the names in the hat were pretty amazing. And then Ramin just wouldn't stop talking about this one discovery that he had made. He was like, this guy, I dream about him. And when you see Adarsh play that character, it's really who he is. And I guess as an executive producer, it's my job to be extremely proud of this material and make sure I advocate it to as many people as I can and support the movie in the best of my abilities.
Well, needless to say, we're out of time. I could talk to you all afternoon about this film, White Tiger. It is just a must-see movie. Thank you both so much.
Thank you for saying
Thank you
that,
so much.
Tony. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Means a
Bye-bye.
lot. Bye.
Have a
Stay
nice
safe.
day. Bye bye.